In a very short statement, it's time. I've had a wonderful experience working at the Albany Institute for, I usually say decades.
Hi there, it's WAMC News Director Ian Pickus. And on this episode of the WAMC News Podcast, my conversation with Tammis Groft. The Albany Institute of History and Art Executive Director just announced she will retire. In the position since 2013, Groft began at the Downtown Museum as an intern in 1976. She became chief curator in 1987 and deputy director in 2000. She will remain in the job through the transition to a successor. She called being executive director the job of a lifetime. The museum's Board of Elections will launch a national search for a new director. I spoke with Groft on Thursday. Congratulations, and why did you decide now is the time to go?
Well, thank you very much. I suppose in a very short statement, it's time. I've had a wonderful experience working at the Albany Institute for, I usually say decades, until somebody counted the years, 45 years. When you think about that, then you say to yourself, it's time. But I've had a great time working at the museum, and it is bittersweet because I enjoy my job as much as I did many years ago and as I do today.
How did you first catch on there as an intern?
Well, I went to a graduate school and in museum studies and American folklore, and the New York State Council on the Arts, which is a state funding organization, had internships, and I applied for an internship to come to the Albany Institute.
And you've been there ever since?
I have. I did spend, I was first started as an intern and then was the assistant curator for exhibitions and collections. And then while I was working for the Albany Institute, I worked as the curator at the Governor Nelson A. Rockefeller collection at the Empire State Plaza, and I did that for about 7 years. The Albany Institute had a contract with the state of New York to take care of the 92 works of contemporary art at the plaza. So I spent some time down there as well.
What did you like about this particular institute and this particular area that kept you here so long?
Well, the Albany Institute is a museum of art and history. And that is fairly unusual. Usually you have a historical society or an art museum. And what the Albany Institute has done since its founding in 1791 is not only collect objects and materials, but also the stories and the papers associated with them. So what I love about the Albany Institute is you can have an object and say, for example, it would be a cast iron stove, sort of my favorite, and we may know who made the stove, who owned the stove, who donated it to the Albany Institute, so that what we do best at the Albany Institute is tell stories with the objects. And of course, everything has some sort of documented relationship to the art history and culture of the Upper Hudson Valley. So that just adds to the richness. So you can use an object in an exhibit one year and tell one story, and you can use the same object in another type of an exhibit another year and tell a completely different story.
Has the role of the Institute in our city and our civic life changed in the time you've been there, do you think?
Well, the Albany Institute has been around since 1791. We have changed our location 7 times. We've changed our name 7 times. And I always like to say it really is a reflection of the change in the needs of our community. So in the last, the time that I've been here at the Albany Institute, there's been a tremendous amount of effort of learning more about the collections so that the collections were recatalogued so that we spent a lot of time researching the collection and bringing in experts so that we had the correct and most updated information. And the second piece that is always very important is working with the community and understanding and engaging with the community to see what people are interested in. And we've done numerous surveys and activities where we, ask people about the exhibits that we're doing and, whether they like the label copy or the design. So, interacting with your community and the development of exhibits. And the other thing that we have worked on is doing a number of community exhibitions. So, for example, we did a show on photographs related to the Beatles, and, we also asked the community to lend to us their precious Beatles memorabilia so that we could exhibit that right along with the photographs of the Beatles. And we did a similar thing with an exhibition called Triple Play, which was a baseball exhibition.
I was at that one.
And yeah, I remember that. And I think it was very exciting. Well, I think while you were there, somebody came in. They came in to see the exhibit, and they said they had this terrific piece of memorabilia from a stadium, and they donated it right then and there. So community-based exhibitions where you can engage with the community and people are involved in the exhibition is very exciting.
So what will you do next after you leave? What are your plans?
Well, we all have long lists of things to do, but, coming out of this pandemic, there are a lot of family and friends that we have already lined up to go and visit, and I have a wonderful renovation project at the house, so I'm excited about that. And then, of course, as a lifelong museum person, I've got lots of lists of museums and shows to see, not only in this, literally around the world.
Do you have a favorite, not counting the Albany Institute?
That's an interesting question. Every museum is different, and all of the exhibits are different. Museums that I go to on a regular basis, I have to say I will always enjoy going to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York just for the range of materials, the exhibits, the programs, and there's always more to see.
Which of the two mummies will you be taking with you?
Ankh Fenmot, of course.
That's the priest?
That is the priest who is also we determined is a sculptor, and we were able to determine that when we did the exhibition, The Mystery of the Albany Mummies, because we were able to do CAT scans and X-rays of the mummies, and we were able to figure out who he was and what he did, and it confirmed what the coffin that we have at the Albany Institute reported about his life.
If you had to give your successor one piece of advice about being the executive director of this institution, what would it be?
What I think is exciting about living and working in our region are all the stories that can be told, ranging from history and art and the richness of the Hudson Valley, the richness of the art traditions, starting from 18th century Hudson Valley portraits, the first American School of Art, to the Hudson River School, so getting to know that. And then when you think about the vibrancy of all of the artwork that is being created today, not only shown in galleries and museums, but throughout our city streets. So I think the vibrancy of the art and history in our region is very exciting.
Well, Tammis Groft, congratulations on the announcement of your retirement as Executive Director at the Albany Institute of History and Art. And I'm sure you've got a lot to do before your last day, so thank you so much for taking this time for us.
Thanks a lot.
All right, that does it for this episode of the WAMC News Podcast. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time, I'm Ian Pickus.